All right, all right, all right, all right, all right. What's up, everybody? My people in Manhattan, the Bronx, especially for this video. All my people in Queens, all the Staten Island, my homebro, Brooklyn. Back at another video. And today, April 19th, 2024, marks the 30th anniversary of Illmatic, the debut album by the legendary rapper and Queensbridge native Nas. Illmatic is widely considered by many, including myself, many other pure hip-hop heads, hard-body hip-hop heads, the greatest album of all time, and for damn sure the greatest debut hip-hop album of all time. It completely changed the game, had a huge impact on Queensbridge, the whole New York rap scene, hell, the West Coast scene, and hip-hop as a whole, from lyricism to production, storytelling to hip-hop poetry, everything. The game completely changed after this masterpiece by these young men from the Queensbridge projects. Nasir Jones, aka Nasty Nas, or however you know him as, just simply Nas. I mean, Nas began working on his legendary debut his legendary album in the early 1990s. You know, in 1991, Nas appeared on a song called "Live at the Barbecue" by The Main Source, and his verse on that song got him signed to Columbia Records. You know, particularly the line, "When I was 12, I went to hell for snuffing Jesus." And a lot of people may not know this, but the original album cover for Illmatic was supposed to have Nas having Jesus in a headlock, but they changed that because they thought that'd be too controversial, might hurt sales. They were right. But anyway, in the next year, 1992, Nas teamed up with a team of legendary producers, including Pete Rock to Nas's right but left of the screen, Pete Rock, and then to Nas's left, right of the screen, Large Professor, DJ Premier, Q-Tip, and LES. And one of the first songs Nas worked on was a song called Halftime. Of course, by then he was going by the moniker of Nasty Nas. The single was released in 1992. 2 years later, in early 1994, It Ain't Hard to Tell was released as a single, for Illmatic. It ain't hard to tell. I excel, then prevail. No mic is contracted, I attract clientele. Great song, and even greater video. Then came April 19, 1984. Hip hop was changed forever when Nas's legendary album Illmatic was released. The album cover was inspired by a jazz album cover that was released decades earlier. For all you don't know, Nas's father, Oludora, who also appeared on the album, was a jazz musician. So Nas grew up with a love of jazz and all types of that type of music. He got that from his pops. Very similar. I grew up loving old hip hop because of my pops, but this album was released on April 19th. As you can see, here's the track list for it: The Genesis, New York State of Mind, Life's a Bitch, The World Is Yours, Halftime, Memory Lane, Sitting on the Park, One Love, One Time for Your Mind, Represent, Ain't Hard to Tell. Just back to back to back bangers. 10 songs that changed hip hop forever. Some of these are amongst Nas' greatest songs of all time. New York State of Mind, to me, that's probably my favorite Nas song ever. I mean, Life's a Bitch, The World Is Yours, which of course is a reference to the film Scarface. Halftime, I mean, good God, Ain't Hard to Tell. I mean, all these songs are great. I never get tired of Illmatic. I can listen to it over and over and over again. Never get tired of the witty lyrics, the production, the sound, just everything was, I mean, 5 mics. This album got 5 mics from the source, rightfully so. Anything less than that would have been a travesty. Life's a Bitch, of course, also featured Nas's friend, homeboy AZ, and some have argued that AZ had the superior verse to Nas on this record. Also, at the end, you hear a trumpet solo from Nas's father, Oludora. Life's a bitch and then you die. That's why we get high, cause you never know when you're gonna go. Life's a bitch and then you die. That's why we puff fly, cause you never know when you're gonna go. Yeah, the world is yours. Whose world is this? The world is yours. The world is mine, is mine, is mine. I sip the Don P watching Gandhi till One Love, and of course, again, my favorite song on this album was New York State of Mind. I think a crime when I'm in the New York state of mind. Of pain, I'm like Scarface, difficult cocaine, holding the M16, see with this pen I'm extreme. I never sleep, cause sleep is the cousin of death. Behind the walls of intelligence, life is defined. I think a crime when I'm in the New York state of mind. And let's get into this on the legacy and the impact of Illmatic. Along with critical acclaim of the Wu-Tang Clan's debut album, Enter the Wu-Tang 36 Chambers, 1993, and the success of the Notorious B.I.G.'s Ready to Die, 1994, which came out months after Illmatic, Illmatic was instrumental in restoring interest in the East Coast hip hop scene. Rarely has the birthplace of hip hop, wrote Bob Marriott of Complex, been so unanimous in praise of a rap record and the MC who made it. As Nas later recounted, it felt amazing to be accepted by New York City in that way. At the time, a lot of West Coast hip hop was selling, East Coast wasn't selling as much, especially for a new artist. So back then, you couldn't tell in sales, but you could tell in the streets. Production. Illmatic has been noted as a creative high point for East Coast hip hop since it featured a production from renowned New York-based producers Large Professor, Pete Rock, DJ Premier. The album solidified the reputation of these producers whose contributions to Illmatic became influential in shaping the soundscape of New York's regional scene. According to music writer Rob Marriott, Illmatic helped establish DJ Premier as the go-to producer for the jazz and blues inflected knock that became the central of the East Coast sound. Yeah, that boom bap sound in the 90s. No, that time period was known as the East Coast Renaissance. You just saw Wu-Tang came out in 93, Nas and Big came out in 94. Mobb Deep dropped their second album, The Infamous, which got them on the map. In 95, Jay-Z dropped Reasonable Doubt in 96. That was that time period known as the East Coast Renaissance. You had the boom bap sound, the mafioso rap sound, everything. New York was on fire during that time period. And as for DJ Premier, Premier will later go on to work with Christina Aguilera when she wanted to do that kind of old school kind of blues, rhythm and blues type of sound. One of her albums, I forget what the album was called, but I listened to a few records because it's Premier, man, DJ Premier, one of the greatest producers of all time, as well as these other cats, All Professor and Pete Rock, and of course we all know Q-Tip. I mean, no question. Legacy and tributes. Illmatic has become a benchmark for upcoming rappers whose albums are widely anticipated by critics. Hip-hop pundits have viewed debut albums as crucial in generating publicity and shaping the legacy of an artist's career. Absolutely. Given the historic anticipation and acclaim surrounding Nas' debut, Illmatic has become a byword for this sort of phenomenon. As one columnist of Complex magazine writes, think about the question that pops into your head whenever a new rapper drops his first album. Is it the next Illmatic? In 2012, the release of Kendrick Lamar's album Good Kid, Mad City drew comparisons to Illmatic from critics and journalists. In an interview with Two Dope Boys, Lamar commented on these comparisons by stating, Illmatic, for people to even put my album in the light of that is an accomplishment. It's crazy to even be mentioned with it, but it's scary at the same time. That era, I want to say that age range now would be 30 to 40. They can recognize this was the album. Illmatic's the album for the 90s era when I was growing up. It's just a weird feeling to be in that same type of light because it takes a whole new responsibility to keep that up in the long run and longevity. And that's something I don't have yet. So Illmatic will always be number one. Yeah, let me say this. Illmatic also kind of hurt Nas in a way because everything subsequent to that was compared to Illmatic. It was written. A lot of people, including myself, I for the longest time, I think I've even stated this in the past, thought It Was Written was better than Illmatic. But when I listened to, but last year when I was doing my Hip Hop 50 tribute and I did my top 10 greatest hip hop albums, I listened to Illmatic again, I listened to It Was Written again, and I realized I was a fool. I mean, Illmatic is the superior album. I mean, It Was Written was still a great album, don't get it bent, but Illmatic was the superior album. It Was Written. There are people out there who believe It Was Written was better than Illmatic. And Nas's album, I Am, I Am isn't a bad album. I wouldn't say it's an all-time great album. It's not a bad album either. But it suffers comparison to Illmatic and It Was Written. And then, of course, Nostradamus, I don't think we want to talk about that. But, Nas's subsequent work always got compared to Illmatic, whether it was Stillmatic or Godson. And It Was Written. And it's very unfortunate because those albums are great in their own right. But, that's going to be it for this. Guys, tell me what your favorite track off Illmatic is. Mine, personally, is New York State of Mind. That's just mine personally. That's me. That's the New York anthem. I mean, with all due respect, to Empire State of Mind or any other track released by a New York rapper, New York artist, Sinatra. A lot of people may say Frank Sinatra's New York, New York. To me, New York style will be the New York anthem for me. But that's just mine. Tell me what yours is. Do you have Illmatic number one hip hop album of all time? Do you think are you one of the people that think It Was Written was better? Tell me what you think in the comment section down below. Where does Nas rank among your greatest MCs of all time? For me, Nas was always kind of like 1A. I always go back and forth between Nas and DMX for my greatest rapper of all time. They may shock people. I've done videos on that in the past. You can check them out. But, yeah, shout out to Mr. Nasir Jones, a.k.a. Nas. Thank you for everything you've done for the hip-hop genre. You are one of, if not the greatest of all time, and your album Illmatic completely changed the game and is one of the greatest albums of all time across genres. Any genre. Matter of fact, Rolling Stone ranked it number 44 on the 500 greatest albums of all time list. I don't think it was the highest ranking hip hop album, but it should have been. But again, tell me what you guys think in the comments down below. Click the like button, subscribe. I'm going to see y'all. Happy 30th anniversary to Illmatic.